protecting us all.
Okay, it's 1:11 on May 14th, so I'll open up this meeting of the 2025-2026 Budget Committee Workshop. First up, Ms. Blanchard.
Good afternoon, Budget Committee members, Board of Commissioners. Thank you for joining us today for the 2025-2026 Tillamook County Budget Meeting. I will read you your budget message. To the Tillamook County Board of Commissioners, Budget Committee members, and residents, I am honored to present Tillamook County's proposed budget for the 2025-2026 fiscal year. Developed through extensive collaboration, thoughtful analysis, and the dedicated efforts of county leadership, the Budget Committee and staff, this budget reflects our commitment to fiscal responsibility, strategic planning, and long-term financial sustainability. It ensures that county resources are aligned with service priorities and community needs. The county budget serves as a financial roadmap guiding decisions on how resources are allocated to deliver essential services. Once adopted, it authorizes funding for the upcoming year and establishes long-term priorities. Budget structure. The budget is organized into 4 types of funds. General fund, which is the county's primary operating fund supporting core departmental functions. Special revenue funds. There are 46, which we added 4 this year. Funds totaling $97.13 million, or 54% of the total budget, including a $17.2 million Health and Human Services Fund, down to a $22,800 Juvenile Trust Fund, both restricted for specific uses. Debt service funds, which support infrastructure projects, including the Road Debt Service Fund and the newly approved Radio Debt Service Fund, which enhances emergency communications for first responders. Capital funds, there are now 4 funds supporting large-scale projects such as broadband expansion, radio system upgrades, building improvements, and road construction grants. The expenditure categories, county funds are distributed across 6 expenditure categories. Personal services, which includes employee salaries, benefits, and uniforms. Materials and services, operational costs, including office supplies, utilities, fuel, and facility maintenance. Capital outlay, which are major purchases or projects exceeding $5,000 with the lifespan of more than 1 year. Operating transfers, which are contributions to public health programs and reserves for vehicles, computers, and facility improvements. Contingency funds set aside for unexpected needs, accessible through budget amendments. And the unappropriated ending fund balance, which are reserves maintained to ensure financial stability at the start of the next fiscal year before major revenue inflows. Our accounting method, Tillamook County follows cash basis accounting, recording revenues upon receipt and expenses when paid. Guiding our future through strategic investments. Tillamook County continues to navigate a complex financial landscape, balancing challenges with opportunities. In recent years, leadership, the Budget Committee, and staff have worked diligently to assess fiscal realities, explore revenue strategies, and implement operational efficiencies, ensuring the county will be on stable financial trajectory. In, in 2024, county leadership adopted the strategic plan, Tillamook County 2024 through 2028, which defines our mission, vision, and values. Our mission, delivering excellent public services for the people, places, and communities of Tillamook County. Our vision, a responsible, strategic, resilient, and responsive local government, a great place to work. And values, serving with integrity, excellence, and commitment. Strategic budget objectives for 2025-2026. The newly established strategic plan included key objectives that have been incorporated into the 25-26 budget. These include revenue generation, cost reductions, policy and departmental evaluations, as well as long-term financial planning. All objectives that can be categorized as strengthening fiscal stability of Tillamook County. This budget takes a measured approach to balancing expenditures with available revenue, incorporating new revenue responsibly, and prioritizing long-term planning. Key actions include enhanced intercounty transfers, an innovative funding strategy that leverages cross-county opportunities, drawing down one-time reserve funds to stabilize the general fund while further assessments and long-range planning are developed, reducing capital maintenance investments while developing a long-term infrastructure plan. County leadership, budget committee members, and staff have worked diligently to move top priority items forward in the last year, a handful of which are still a work in progress and are not included in the proposed budget, but may lead to a need for a mid-year budgetary adjustment. County Teamwork has put forth the following in progress items: personal services studies and negotiations. Ongoing evaluations of salary structures and benefits may lead to adjustments beyond currently budgeted rates, requiring potential budget amendments to manage potential costs. Measure 29-183, which is the transient lodging tax increase. This measure is currently up for a vote, could raise the TLT to 12 or 14%, generating additional recurring revenue to support various county services. Transient lodging tax allocation reform. This is in legislative efforts are underway to reformulate the allowable uses of TLT revenue through statutory revisions, potentially expanding funding flexibility for county initiatives, and indirect cost allocation software migration, which may result in mid-year updates. These milestones will require close monitoring and strategic financial planning as they evolve throughout the fiscal year. Budget summary. The proposed Tillamook County budget for 2025-2026 is $179,171,763 compared to an adopted budget of $153,452,280 for 2024-2025. There's a comparison chart is included for reference in Exhibit A. Key changes in revenue. The radio bond proceeds will be an increase of $24.4 million, and intercounty transfers an increase of $240,000 countywide, $956,000 for the general fund. Key changes in expenditures. Personal services, there was an increase of $1.4 million. Materials and services, there was an overall decrease of $1.3 million. Capital expenditures, there was a significant investment in long-term infrastructure projects reflected in a $23 million increase, mostly the offset of the radio bond capital outlay. Looking ahead, a collaborative approach to fiscal stewardship. Through proactive planning, strategic partnerships, and responsible fiscal oversight, Tillamook County remains committed to delivering high-quality services while securing a strong financial future. This budget serves as both a roadmap and a commitment to sound fiscal management, operational excellence, and community collaboration. The preparation of this budget would not be possible without the hard work and contributions of many. I would like to acknowledge Deborah Jacob, Chief Deputy Treasurer, and the support staff in my office. I would also like to acknowledge the efforts of each department heads and managers that participated in completing this budget. Finally, I wish to thank all those who have provided input, and I would like to thank the Budget Committee for their participation throughout the process of preparing and ultimately approving the budget. The Board of County Commissioners is scheduled to adopt the county budget at a public hearing on June 18th, 2025 at 10:30 a.m. We look forward to working together to advance our shared priorities and build a sustainable future for Tillamook County. Respectfully submitted, Sean Blanchard, County Treasurer.
Thank you. I guess that's you next also.
Next, county departments and the other funded. So I'm trying to forward so we can throw something up on the screen. 1 second. So there were not a whole lot of changes. I just forwarded you the meeting link. There were not a whole lot of changes to requested and proposed budgets. The biggest changes of directions of the Budget Committee, there was a transfer into the general fund from the parks of $1 million. There was also a transfer in of $1 million from revenue stabilization into the general fund. There was a transfer reduction in the transfer out of the general fund to the building improvement. There was an update to the contingency. In regards to special revenue funds, there was a transfer from TLT facilities into parks. They are a transient lodging tax facility, so they'll be able to use that. Also, speaking with Sarah, I think she's online, I had a conversation with Director Absher of Community Development, and in accordance with ordinance number 86, a new Fund 123 was created, Public Safety Initiative, I think is what we decided to call it, and a transfer out of 122 into 123 for code enforcement. There's a transfer, let's see. There's also going to be a slight update to the parks as far as his employee costs. Dan and I have been talking about that. That's not in here yet, but it will be in the approved. I believe it increases the parks about $200,000 in employee expenses. It's something that he has requested of me, and he can speak to that if he'd like to. I can give him the cost, but he had some increases in employees, correct?
You want me to answer that now?
No, it was for a park foreman and a park operations tech 2. So that was about the increase, but that will be coming in the approved budget. If you are agreeable to include it today, it's not in here because it was only in the last couple of days that we were talking about it. But Parks is a very self-sustaining special revenue fund, and Dan feels that he needs those positions and that they will benefit our tourism and his facilities. Other differences, I mean, as far as the general fund, I missed a formula in HR's budget. Yeah, by $3,800, that's now corrected, so that increased their budget a little bit. It was just a formula that was not picking up. Otherwise, there were not. I did not have any changes in the health department. We are monitoring their budget given the federal funding or lack of potential federal funding. And I know that their department over there is monitoring those also, and where their grants and whatnot are coming from, and if they're going to continue to receive them.
So what you're talking about, the amount with the parks is not in these numbers? Is that what you're saying?
The only thing that's not in these numbers is the 2 increased employees.
Okay.
Which is roughly about $200,000 increase in his, and then we'll offset it in infrastructure or projects. So that is probably the only thing that really is not in here.
And that's within the parks
Yes.
fund.
There also, as I alluded or talked about, well, Ken, you were here. You both weren't here. Late last week, we received the valuation from Milliman, which showed the retirement going from 34.1% of payroll to 34.4% of payroll, which equated to about in total $60,000 increase. So that will be updated in here, and talk to departments and see where they want to offset those before the final adopted budget comes before the board. There will also be a supplemental budget for fiscal year 24-25, which will, in 311, the radio bond, it will change loan proceeds into beginning fund balance because we will appropriate those proceeds in fiscal year 24-25. And also a change to the 123, which is the Public Safety Initiative, changing those from a transfer to their beginning fund balance for this fiscal year. So there are some changes, but it's not a total revenue increase or change. It's just where it is on the GL code.
Questions? Okay. Next up is public questions or comments. Is there anyone from the public that wishes to speak? Somebody monitoring?
Anybody online? I will say the department's really, considering we had the decrease in materials and services, they did really try and keep within budgets. And I think everybody's been watching on other counties and cities that are having to make huge cuts, and we're being proactive in trying not to do that sort of thing. And we've had a great committee that has been helping us along.
No hands raised. Okay, Budget Committee deliberations. Budget Committee, now is your time to speak, which includes y'all.
Did y'all have anything you wanted to start with, or do you want us to start?
Go ahead.
Okay, I think we're there. We're where we said we wanted to be. I think at the end of our last budget hearing, we were all kind of firing things at Sean, do this, do that, do the other, to get it budgeted, to get it balanced. And so I think, you know, if everybody looked at this, it kind of reflects what that kind of off-the-cuff conversation was that felt a little confusing in the moment as numbers were flying around. So I guess I just want to make sure that everybody kind of had a chance to look at that and feels confident, comfortable with where we are in that, with what choices we've made. I think what's crucial for us to look at in that is recognizing that we are using significant one-time funds toward recurring expenses in this year, and I think we know that, but I think we want to daylight that to make sure that we're not forgetting that the way we're balancing this right now will get us through this year, and if we used a similar process, could get us through probably next year, after which point, if we haven't located and received significant additional revenues, we will be out of that beginning fund balance and out of that reserve. So I think it is a responsible and a good way to do this to get us where we're going, because we have so much more information that's just right around the corner for us still, with the work from Tiberius, with our studies that we're waiting on wages, et cetera, with our capital study and looking at our space provisions. So we have a bunch of things that are right around the corner that from my perspective make this an okay way to do it. But I think I do just want to highlight for everyone that, you know, there is concern. Y'all have heard me talk about it before, and I continue to have some concern. Just we've put a lot on ourselves to do in the next 2 years to make sure that we can identify and bring in a significant amount of revenue to keep everything rolling. And I do want to be honest and upfront about that in our budget process. So just want to kind of throw that into the conversational mix.
Don't make me say seed corn.
I did not say it, man, because I knew you all would give me a really hard time, but I also didn't want to not talk about it.
Commissioner Bell, do you have any comments?
Thank you. I appreciate the process. I am thankful for all the work that's been done in this budget. Thank you to Sean and Deborah and everyone in her office. I also think this is what we asked them to do at the end of the last budget hearing, and I'm grateful that it's working, that we're able to balance this budget. I share Commissioner Scar's concerns. I have been saying publicly for a while now that I just have a gut full of anxiety about balancing the budget in the future, and that it's not just you know, Sean used the word proactive, which I appreciate. We are working hard to solve that problem, and all of the solutions aren't in place yet, but they're in motion. And so this is what we can do. We can try to solve the problem before we get to that edge, which may happen in a couple of years, where we no longer have any extra funds to use to balance the budget. So it feels like an act of faith, you know, that we're just pedaling to get there. And I'm grateful that we're all doing it together. And I'm optimistic, you know, I'm hopeful that good things will happen, and we'll be able to bridge the revenue gap. And also I just want to say that it's Parks is really the hero in this budget cycle in terms of being able to share revenue and provide the revenue to the general fund that we needed in order to balance the budget. My thanks to Commissioner Fournier for making the suggestion. And while it sort of feels like a shell game of moving money around from Parks to the general fund and from TLT to Parks, it's legal and it makes sense. And I think it's a good solution. It's obviously limited, because Parks has a small nest egg. And so I can see a future of us working to develop more parks facilities and market the parks facilities. And I want to share with the group that I met with both the park staff, the leadership staff, and to talk to them about this because it's public, of course, and also the Parks Advisory Committee. And I had great conversations with both groups. They understood. I think largely they were glad that parks can participate in solving this problem for the county, um, and open to the idea of changing the dynamics so that everybody wins, so that parks can be more successful, the county can be more successful, and it's sort of a new dawn in that relationship. So that I felt good about all of those conversations, and I want to codify with this group that earlier last year, Parks agreed to a public safety contribution to the general fund of maybe it was 175,000 a year or 125,000, something like that. Dan can correct me. And folks have asked, and I affirmed that yes, we should be able to replace that with TLT facilities funds also, because why not? So I don't remember who I talked to about that. Maybe Rachel. I talked to somebody about that who confirmed, like, oh yeah, that makes sense. And so I want to talk about it with the budget committee because I don't think we've talked about that here. And I'll stop there. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Forney.
I want to thank the departments, as I did the last time we met, for bringing forward very conservative budgets, that being on the same page. And I think it is amazing to echo what Sean was saying. I'm going to county college tomorrow, and I'm there in a room full of commissioners, and they're all bemoaning their budget committee process that they're involved right now because they have to make major cuts, and they're having a very difficult time. And I just sit there quietly, and I'm grateful for the work that this committee has done this whole past year. I want to thank Sean and Deborah for coming back with this. And I just think I think I'm a little bit more optimistic than my colleagues. But that's good. It's a good balance for someone to do that, I guess, to have a different thought process on that. I think my optimism is based on the fact that we have made so many changes in this process alone that we're not going backwards to what we were doing 10 years ago. And I've been with the county as an employee for over 24 years. So I've been here for, it's not like I'm new to the process. And I guess I'm optimistic because I see that we've turned a corner. I'm not going to use the cliff word again, but we've turned a corner in the way we're doing things, all of us. Sean's budget message was fantastic. It was optimistic. It was factual, but it was also, there's some hope in there. And I think that is contagious. I think it's good for our employees to hear that we are making investments, and they are risky, but we're not as risk averse as we have been. And maybe that's a good thing. I think we're also not blind to the risk. So I see it in the department heads. I see the difference in how happy they are this time of year. They're not dreading. They haven't been dreading these committee meetings, and I think that's great. One of our strategic plan, one of us is having to be a great place to work. It's a great place to work when everybody feels like, and to Commissioner Bell's thinking with the parks, contributing revenue. It's a great place to work when you feel like everybody's got each other's back. And I think that is important, and that elevates everybody. So my optimism spreads from, not just because I do believe all the plates that we're juggling in the air now with Tiberius and all these ideas. I think that some of them are going to work. They're going to bring in more revenue. I think your discussion with changing, you've been talking about this in meetings about how we have to reimagine our relationship with timber. and maybe we're switching from harvest to more recreational opportunities. And I think that that is a huge um, paradigm shift from where this county's been for the last 4 decades. So much has happened in the last 12 months that my optimism is and it's contagious. I see people being excited about it. I see my colleagues like that's. I love that. I've been quoting that to people that we have to reimagine our relationship with timber, and because it's never going to go back to what it was. But we also none of us want this place to be um, a tourism, you know, disaster. And so I think that we're all cognizant of that. And anyways, I'm very optimistic. We have a lot of work to do. Just going to keep doing it, and I'm proud to be a part of the process. So
Thank you. Ms. Boston.
I ditto what I've already.
Microphone.
I want to just say I agree with what's been said so far. I have nothing to add. Thanks.
Mr. Hanson.
Well, first, I wanted to thank the county commissioners. I want to thank all the department heads and congratulate Ms. Blanchard, Ms. Jacob on a job well done. I think we're at a point where we are where we hoped we would be at this point. I would caution, I remain relatively optimistic that the Tiberius, cautiously optimistic that the Tiberius work will pay off. I caution that we're putting a lot of eggs into that basket and would hope that budget committee, department heads, department leaders, and county commissioners would continue to think creatively about revenue generation and cost reduction. But I'm pleased with where we are currently and look forward to next steps.
Thank you. I'm fiscally conservative, but economically optimistic, if that makes any sense. So I too have concerns about spending down reserves, but it's hard not to feel optimism. And in Commissioner Fournier, you're particularly good at fostering the enthusiasm, and I do think it's something that carries over. Um, and I want to also thank the commissioners, my fellow committee members, and Sean, Deborah, for all the hard work, and the department heads. Everyone's sort of working towards the same goal. And I want to particularly point out that I sincerely appreciate that the budget committee has been uh, used the way it's been used, which is, I have to say, unusual in my experience. Usually, budget committees are more or less, even though it's not said this way, are viewed as sort of a rubber stamp, and you come in for one meeting and say, yes, I agree with whatever you said, and we move on. And that's definitely not been the process here. Including the meetings we had last year, building up to some of the ideas that were given to Tiberius to work on, and and I have to say I'm starting to come around to these ideas, and am excited about some of the things the county is talking about. The good news is that we do have a balanced budget, and I think with everyone's continued work together, and working as a group for a common goal, I do believe that that we're going to get there. So again, I just appreciate everyone's work getting us to this point. So next up is the budget committee approval of the budget.
Question before I make a motion. Do I need to include the adjustment to the parks in that motion?
They're less than 10%.
Okay.
So, but I just wanted to make you aware of them. There are some upcoming, just because once I need to post a balanced proposed budget, it wasn't an hour later, I had emails saying I need this, that, something else. So they're very minor changes, but there will be a supplemental. Hopefully I'll work with Debbie at the 17th, and then work with Josh and Matt out at the sheriff's office when there was the jail tour. I think you were unable to, but at least there were at least 4 that were able to attend, and I'm going to try and plan it for that day. Shouldn't be too long, and any changes go out to department heads beforehand.
So, Mr. Chair, I would move that we adopt the budget as presented, approve, thank you, the budget as presented.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded that we approve the 2025-26 Tillamook County budget. All in favor, please say aye.
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 Opposed? Abstentions? The motion carries unanimously. Next up is approval of the tax levies. Do I need to use one of these, Ellen?
Yes.
Okay. So we have in your packet, everyone has their tax levies. So you see before you some tax levies. I entertain a motion to approve each of these levies.
And I'll need you to read them into record. Yeah.
Do I need to? Okay. I'd like to have a motion to approve the Tillamook County General Services permanent rate of $1.4986 per $1,000.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, it's moved and seconded to approve Tillamook County General Services permanent rate of $1.4986 per $1,000. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
I think you can read them all in and then approve them all.
I can approve all.
Yeah.
All at once.
Let's do all.
Don't have to do them separately.
Next up, we have the library option tax of 65 cents per $1,000, veteran service local option tax of 7 cents per $1,000, road debt service levy 367,200, and radio debt service levy $1,899,770.
I so move that all these levies be approved as read.
I'll second that.
Okay. It's moved and seconded, I have to read them all again, to approve the next 4 levies. All in favor, please say aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries. Are there any non-agenda items?
I don't believe so. I think Debbie had reached out to everybody as far as their availability for the jail tour,
It's June 17th, right?
June
Yes,
17th.
I believe so.
You've heard.
I've been there once or twice.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm flying in on the 16th, but hopefully I'll be back.
In cuffs,
And,
out of
no,
cuffs.
I think Rachel, she said you may not be available. You're out? Okay. If I have it, I'll have the supplemental budget, but I will send that to you so you'll know
So
if it affects the radio bond, you'll know. Jail.
okay.
So no, otherwise I have nothing. Thank you all very much. I appreciate your service.
All right, so if that's all, then I'm going to adjourn this meeting at 1:44 p.m.
Look at that.
All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Amen.
Thanks, everyone.
Wow. That was quick.
It's a good thing I got that suit. I would not have asked about going to get something to eat. I would have been asleep.
Would have been that. That's all I had.
I would have been like,
That's all I got. That's the emergency.